So welcome to the Discovery Day, and just to echo what Anthony's saying, I've seen most of the talks that you're going to see later on today, and it's exceptional. So the work that the Geological Survey is doing and the way they're presenting it is very, very professional, and I'm very proud of what they're going to show you today. And also there'll be a bunch of announcements tomorrow when our Minister addresses the SAMIC conference. So I just want to sort of touch on a few things. I want to talk about growth state. So let's get started. First of all, I'll also re-echo our welcome to country and acknowledging that we're on the land of the Kaurna people, and we acknowledge their elders, past, present and future. I'm actually very fortunate as part of the Chief Executives group to work on the Closing the Gap work that the government has signed up to, and I actually work with a committee dealing with vulnerable Aboriginal families. And it's quite amazing, really. I mean, one of the issues one of the solutions for vulnerable Aboriginal families is employment, and the mining sector is one of the biggest employers of Aboriginal people in the country. So there is a direct link between what we talk about and we do in here and some of the outcomes for Aboriginal people down the track. So I'm very pleased to be able to try and link the two where I can. Growth state. Now, the Premier launched this a few years ago now. It was following on from Bill English and John Keys in New Zealand, who did a similar exercise in New Zealand and changed the economic course of New Zealand. So we've adopted the same thing. We've picked 9 themes which we think move the dial, and energy and mining is a key one. In fact, this particular sector potentially can move the dial far more than any other sector in South Australia. So we've been beavering away, working on a number of projects through the year, and hopefully, I think by Friday, we'll have an annual report out which actually documents what we've actually achieved in that time, and it's considerable. So the sector itself has had a very good year, despite COVID. At the moment, mining and energy products account for 43% of the state's exports, that goes directly to the bottom line of GSP. We've got record royalties of over $300 million hitting, and there's a trajectory to $500 million per annum, which is a very good. The Treasury is very happy about that. Surprising number of, I think, of 49,000 jobs there, with 5,000 increased in the last record, and then an overall growth of $8.7 billion in sort of gross revenue. So this is a very significant sector for the state, and it's got plenty of upside. But I think what's happening to us is the world is transforming very quickly. Decarbonising the economy, all sorts of economies is now the thing. And if you think about it, we're going from, I guess, a hydrocarbon-based energy system to a renewable energy system, and the rate limiter is the metals that you use. So it's not the discovery of oil and gas in the ground anymore, it's the metals that actually you need to make electrolyzers and cart power around as you electrify cities. So it's the pinch points are going to be the commodities, not the oil and the gas anymore. And so that presents all sorts of opportunities for a place like South Australia. China, for example, produces, does the processing for virtually all of the critical minerals that matter in the renewable energy sector, and they've got their foot on some of the largest deposits, say of cobalt in the Congo. They pretty much own it. So there's an economic and political challenge right there to broaden the base, broaden the source of supply, and broaden the processing that goes with it. So all of a sudden you've got renewable energy in the broad, and mining and exploration coming together, which is sort of what that interesting graphic there is trying to illustrate. So the pillars, the key pillars, of course, are exploration. We don't find anything if we're not exploring, and then I guess setting ourselves a target about what we want to do in the future. So our target in the state strategic plan is to get to a 300 million per annum sustainable exploration expenditure and head to 13 billion in terms of exports. Now, remembering, I think just now the state has only just hit 13 billion in total. So what we're saying is we're going to replace all of that totally with minerals by 2030. Now, if you look at the graphs up there, whilst they're encouraging, then there's plenty more to do. We have to put our foot on the floor now. If we want to achieve 300 million, we're about 100 million at the moment. We've seen in the past how we can get to much higher levels. The peak that we had back in 2010-11, roughly, was in part the drill out of Olympic Dam. But I'd argue that in a mature mining economy, we should be seeing drill outs like that every 5 or 6 years anyway. So that sort of peakiness what you'd expect in a successful mining jurisdiction. So we've got some work to do, but I think we'll see some of the flow through from some of the projects that I'm going to talk about shortly that will fill that gap. We haven't seen this one for a while, but I thought I'd resurrect it again. My famous exploration triangle that I've used for the last, probably 40 years in both in my previous life and in government. But it really does illustrate to people who don't know the business just how it all works. And the reality is that you need a large number of rolls of the dice. You need as many companies as you can doing exploration down the bottom, then to generate projects that would have either decent intersections or a resource, which lead to advanced projects that have to get through the permitting process to be a mine in the blue zone. Now, this is a pretty healthy pipeline at the moment. I think in the green zone that's about 40 odd projects, and all of them you'd recognise. All of them are sort of got resources. Some of them are well on the way to getting mining lease approvals. And if we can convert the green to the blue, then we'll definitely achieve our $13 billion target without trying. So it's a stretch goal, but it's absolutely realistic. And I think one of the challenges for us as an energy and mining department is what can we do on the permitting side to get from green to blue more quickly and in a more precise sort of way. So I commend that diagram to you, and I hope you'll all have it sitting on your office walls fairly shortly. One thing we have done in South Australia is, through a lot of work over the years with the previous government and the current government, is we've invested a lot in pre-competitive data. We've invested a lot in trying to, we just got through a very arduous Mining Act change, and so that's put us well placed in global terms. So this is a chart from the Fraser Institute. It's one of the indices they use. It's called the Investment Attractiveness Survey, and what they do is they go around the world and ask exploration managers, CEOs of companies, where would you invest? And then they rank them all, and so we're number 7 in the world of about 93 different jurisdictions. Western Australia, I think, is number 4 on that one, and New South Wales, Queensland are well down the list. Tassie and Victoria don't even make it on that particular list. So we're punching well above our weight, if you think about it, because, New South Wales has got plenty of mineral prospectivity. It's a bigger state than us. It should be higher, but it's not. What's the difference? Well, I think it's the investment environment that we present here, and the sort of collaboration and the one-stop shop and all the things that we do here. We're going to do our best to keep in that top 10 area in the survey. So some of the things you're going to hear about today, and I'm just going to touch on a few. And there is so much to talk about today. It's mind-blowing. So I'm just going to pick a few out. In fact, I didn't pick them out. Anthony did. So if your project's not on here, geological survey people, blame him, not me. But the first one is Delamerian origin, using the coil rig that's come out of the Minex CRC, which is on the right-hand side there. This has been, some years in the making to get it to this point, but now it's a production machine that is doing exactly what we designed it to do, which is to safely drill holes. And I think this one can go to 500 metres, and the next generation will go to 1,000. But doing it in a faster, cheaper, more effective way, and it's now demonstrating this. So the project is now going around to the various geological surveys and doing transects and doing various good work. This particular one, as say, is working through the geology as has been mapped out or inferred from the Geological Survey and improving what the interpretation actually does. And while I was out there a few weeks ago, they were actually coring through this thing. So this thing actually is like a percussion rig, but the analysis can be analysed in real time. And then when you intersect something that you're really interested in, you can put a core barrel on and get some core out of it as well. So it's a really very interesting phenomena that we're going through, and already it's showing results. We're picking up volcanics out there, which, Canberra water vision volcanics, and we're picking up alteration in those volcanics. So for anybody looking in their project generation work, that would normally attract a lot of attention. You've got volcanics potentially the right age for mineralisation of various sorts, and you're seeing alteration, so there are fluids doing their job. Sedimentary copper. Now, when I started my work back in 1979, I worked for a company called Utah, and we scoured the Flinders Ranges looking for SEDEX copper, which was with a model at the time that was actually pretty advanced. Then the industry sort of went away from SED-hosted copper, and now we're back again. So there's been a lot of work done by research groups over the years, particularly CODES, and I'm happily the chair of the advisory board down there, and they've done massive work on the Zambian copper belts. And so the knowledge of what these things are all about is much advanced to what it was back when I was poking around in the Wallarans. Plus we have all these tools now, high loggers, advanced geophysical equipment and modelling that we can do. So, and we hosted a very, very successful workshop on SED-hosted copper the other day, and even Richard Hillis, who's the most cynical bastard I know, sent me a text saying how wonderful it all was. So that's high praise indeed. But this is if you think about what we can now do with magnetotellurics and multi-element geochemistry, AI, there's a lot to be learnt, and we know the Adelaidean has got copper from one end to the other. So. There's some big ones out there, no doubt, and the SED-hosted copper projects are the ones that you really want. Gawler Phase 2 is part of a kind of a digital renaissance that we're going through, and this is picking up on the unearthed competition that we ran a little while ago, picking the best ideas out of that and applying it to our work. And that map behind on there is a sort of a compilation of the best gold targets from the various competitors that came along. So this is a kind of a new revolution in the way the geological surveys are working. It does kind of remind me of back in the 90s when John Parker and others were building the first GIS probably in the world back then for geological data. This is sort of that sort of revolution coming again. South Australian Discovery Mapping. This I had to we managed to score about $5 million from our central fund in government, and the way I described it was the Google Maps for geology. In other words, you can sort of do the satellite view and then zoom right down to absolute detail. But there's a fair bit of architecture and a fair bit of work that goes on behind the scenes to get there. But we'll take a leap from the seamless geology that, say, Victoria and New South Wales have got. We'll take a leap ahead of that, and you'll be able to interrogate in 3D, probably 4D, with data that's suitable for machine learning and other technology. So overall, we've got about $15 million is going towards bringing all our data and bring our data in shape. One of the things about the AI revolution, the data science revolution, is you pretty quickly realise that 80% of the time is spent cleaning up the data. So that's what we're doing for you already. So when you dive into the work the Geological Survey are doing, it'll be pre-packaged and be available to apply, to use whatever techniques you've got to apply to it. So, as I said earlier on, we've got a target of 300 million. And 13 billion by 2030. I think the 13 billion, if we can convert the projects that we've currently got on the books, get them all across the line, we will make that target. The worrying one for me a little bit is mineral exploration this year was about $100 million, and I really do believe, we've got 15% of Australia. We should have 15% of the exploration expenditure, and we're not close to that yet. So we've got a bit of work to do. So one of the things that we're doing with the growth state strategy, once it comes out, we'll be seeking industry input about what else can we do, what else is out there that we're not doing, that we should be doing, that just gets the pace of exploration going faster, attracts in more investment. What else can we do that can make a difference? Some of the, and we are doing a lot, and we'll see the benefits of that, and some of the results from the ADI that you'll hear in the next talk are really exciting, and a lot of it, maybe the answer will come from one or many of those projects. But other things that I think we have to face up to and think about is land access. Again, land access has always been on the cards, but I guess it's got considerably harder in recent times. So what do we do about that? Critical minerals, as I say, we're seeing a convergence of renewable energy and the mining sector around critical minerals, environmental minerals. What can we do to enhance the do we produce more detailed prospectivity maps around that? What else can we do there? Groundwater is an ongoing issue for any sort of mining operation in South Australia, so we need to continue doing that work. I think we used to do a lot of targeted sort of investment conferences and things overseas. We've got 7 or 8 overseas offices now that the South Australian government runs in conjunction with Austrade, and I think we can use those far more effectively than we do to sort of project what we've got as an investment destination. Should the Geological Survey package up land and with land access covered, and present that as a package, for bidding, in a very similar way that the oil and gas sector do now. And then perhaps sort of a deeper case management. So individual exploration companies have somebody in the department who's their go-to guy or girl to get data, to help with permitting and whatever. So just in taking the one-stop shop another step further. They're just some ideas, but we're very keen to hear whatever ideas you got and see if we can embed them in the next generation of the strategic plan. So look, I'm really happy that you're here today. I'm extremely happy with the talks that you're going to hear. The powerful a lot of work that's going on here. I'm sure we're going to meet and exceed the targets that we've set ourselves, and if we do, we'll help South Australia achieve that 3% growth target that the Premier set us. So thanks very much.